Picture this: a quiet suburban street at dusk, the kind where every house looks like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The air hums with the faint buzz of cicadas, and the sky is a bruised shade of violet, heavy with the promise of rain. I'm standing on my front porch, a chipped coffee mug in hand, staring at the empty driveway as if it might conjure up answers to questions I haven't even dared to ask yet. My name is Ivy, and at 44, I've built a life that looks like a neatly folded map, every route planned, every destination marked. But maps don't show you the detours, do they? The hidden paths that twist and turn until you're somewhere you never meant to be. I've been married to Daniel for 18 years. 18 years of shared mornings, of passing the butter across the breakfast table, of knowing the exact rhythm of his snoring at night. He's a steady man, Daniel, reliable as the old oak tree in our backyard, the one that's weathered every storm without so much as a creak. He's 46, a software engineer who spends his days untangling lines of code like they're puzzles meant just for him. To the outside world, we're the picture of stability, a modest 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Raleigh, a garden I tend to with more enthusiasm than skill, and a dog named Buster, who's more fur than brains. We don't have kids, not by choice but by circumstance, and after a while, we stop talking about it. It's just us, and most days, that feels like enough. But there's a weight in the silence between us lately, a heaviness I can't quite name. It's not the kind of thing you notice all at once. It creeps in, slow and subtle, like the way frost creeps over a window pane overnight. I catch myself watching Daniel sometimes, when he's hunched over his laptop or flipping through the newspaper, wondering if he feels it too. Does he see the way our conversations have become a series of safe, predictable exchanges? How we talk about the weather or the news or what's for dinner, but never about the things that sit unspoken, gathering dust in the corners of our marriage. I don't know if I'm brave enough to ask. Not yet. I take a sip of my coffee, even though it's gone cold, and let my gaze drift to the neighbor's house across the street. Mrs. Hargrove is out there again, watering her roses with a precision that borders on obsession. She waves at me, a quick flutter of her hand, and I wave back, forcing a smile. That's what you do in a place like this. Wave, smile, pretend everything's just fine. But as I stand here, the mug growing heavy in my grip, I can't shake the feeling that something's off. It's not just the silence with Daniel, it's something deeper, something I can't quite touch, like a memory I can't quite grasp. But that was days ago, back in the familiar hum of suburbia. Now, I'm somewhere else entirely, far from chipped coffee mugs and neighborly waves. I'm in a cabin nestled deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, surrounded by towering pines and a silence so thick it feels like it could swallow you whole. Daniel and I decided to come here for a week, a chance to unplug, to reconnect, to maybe find whatever it is we've been missing. No phones, no internet, no distractions, just us and the wilderness, and a caretaker named Theo who keeps the place running. I didn't expect how disorienting it would feel to be so cut off, though. There's a strange mix of freedom and vulnerability in it, like I've shed a layer of skin I didn't even know I was wearing. The first morning, I woke up to the sound of birds, their calls sharp and insistent, slicing through the stillness. I lay there in the creaky old bed, the quilt heavy on my chest, and breathed in the crisp mountain air that seeped through the slightly open window. It smelled of damp earth and pine, so different from the stale scent of central air back home. I reached for my phone out of habit, my fingers fumbling on the nightstand, only to remember it's not here. I left it behind, locked in the glove compartment of our car, miles away at the base of the mountain. For a moment, panic fluttered in my chest. What if something happens? What if I need to call someone? But then I forced myself to let it go. This is what I wanted, isn't it? A break from the constant buzz of notifications, from the endless scroll of other people's lives. Daniel was already up, standing by the wood stove in the tiny kitchen, trying to figure out how to get a fire going. I watched him for a moment, his brow furrowed in concentration, and felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this could be good for us. We spent that first day fumbling through small tasks together, boiling water for coffee over the stove, slicing bread with a dull knife, laughing awkwardly when we realized neither of us really knew how to cook without a microwave. Later, we dug out an old Monopoly board from a dusty shelf and played a few rounds on the wobbly dining table. But there were moments, subtle ones, where the strain between us showed. A pause in conversation that stretched too long. A laugh that sounded more forced than genuine. I noticed how Daniel's eyes kept drifting to the window, to the trails beyond the cabin, as if he was already planning his escape. He mentioned a solo hike more than once, his voice casual but insistent, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. I thought this trip was about us, but maybe he's looking for something else. Then there's Theo, the caretaker. He's a quiet man, probably in his late 30s, with hands rough from years of hard work and a face that looks like it's the morning of the third day here in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I'm watching Daniel lace up his hiking boots by the cabin door. He's got a map folded into a neat square, tucked into the pocket of his jacket, and a backpack slung over one shoulder, stuffed with water, snacks, and a first aid kit he probably won't need. He looks determined, almost eager, as he turns to me with a small, reassuring smile. "I'll be back by late afternoon, Ivy." "Promise. Just gonna clear my head on one of those trails?" I nod, managing a smile of my own, though there's a tiny knot in my stomach I can't quite explain. I tell him to be careful, to watch his step, and then he's gone, the door creaking shut behind him, leaving me alone with the quiet of the cabin. At first, the solitude feels like a gift. I settle by the window with a chipped mug of tea, the steam curling up in lazy wisps as I stare out at the mist rolling over the mountains. It's beautiful in a haunting way, like the world is holding its breath, draped in a veil of gray. The silence is different when it's just me. No clatter of Daniel's footsteps, no hum of his voice filling the space. It's peaceful, or at least I tell myself it is. I sip my tea, letting the warmth seep into my hands, and try to ignore the faint restlessness stirring beneath my skin. Maybe I needed this quiet just as much as he needed his hike. The morning drags on, slow and uneventful, until I hear the crunch of gravel outside. My first thought is that Daniel's back early, but when I glance out the window, I see Theo instead, the caretaker, hauling a bundle of firewood in his arms. I open the door before he can knock, and he gives me a polite nod, his face as unreadable as ever. "Thought you might need more for the stove," he says, his voice low, almost swallowed by the mountain air. I step aside to let him in, murmuring a thanks as he crosses the threshold. The logs clatter as he stacks them by the hearth, the sound sharp against the stillness of the cabin. I watch him work, noting the ease in his movements, the way his hands, calloused and steady, handle the wood like it's second nature. It's a mundane moment, or at least it should be. I expect him to finish up and head out, back to whatever tasks keep him busy around here, but he doesn't. Instead, Theo straightens up, dusting off his hands, and stands there across the room, his presence suddenly heavier than the logs he just carried in. I feel it before I understand it. A shift in the air, like the moment before a storm breaks. I'm still by the window, my mug forgotten on the sill, and I'm not sure if I should say something or just wait. Then he speaks, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "Everything here is real, except the way you pretend not to notice me. The words hit me like a physical thing, sharp and unexpected, sending a jolt through my chest. My heart starts racing, a wild, uneven rhythm, and I can't look away from him. There's an electric charge in the space between us, a current I've felt before, but never acknowledged, not until this very second. His eyes hold mine, steady and unflinching, and I realize I've been seen, truly seen, in a way I haven't felt in years. Maybe ever. I don't know how to respond, don't know if I even can. My mouth feels dry, my thoughts a tangled mess, but my body seems to know what my mind can't grasp. There's a pull, an overwhelming force drawing me toward him, and I don't fight it. I can't. The distance between us closes, though I'm not sure who moves first. It doesn't matter. What happens next is raw, unspoken, a collision of need and vulnerability on the rough wooden floor of the cabin. The walls seem to breathe timber, their ancient scent mixing with the heat of the moment, and the silence swallows every sound, every breath, every heartbeat, until there's nothing left but the weight of what I've just done. Hours have passed since that moment with Theo, and now I'm sitting at the small, scarred table in the cabin, staring at the grain of the wood as if it might offer some kind of absolution. My hands are wrapped around a fresh mug of tea, but I haven't taken a sip. The steam has long since faded, and the liquid is cold, mirroring the chill that settled deep in my bones. I keep replaying it all in my mind, the way Theo's words stripped me bare, the way I let myself fall into something I can't take back. Guilt gnaws at me, sharp and relentless. But there's something else too, a flicker of defiance, a whisper that maybe I deserve to feel alive, even if just for a fleeting moment. But now, with Daniel due back any minute, that flicker feels like a betrayal I can't outrun. I hear the faint crunch of boots on the gravel path outside, and my heart lurches. I stand up too quickly, the chair scraping against the floor, and move to the window, peering through the smudged glass. It's him, Daniel. His figure emerges from the trail, his stride steady but slower than when he left, like the mountain has taken something out of him. His face is flushed from the cold, his breath visible in small puffs against the crisp air. As he nears the cabin, I step back, my pulse hammering in my throat. I don't know what I expect. Does guilt show on a person's face like a stain? Can he sense it? The way animals sense fear? I smooth my sweater with shaky hands, trying to compose myself. But my reflection in the small mirror by the door betrays me. My eyes are too wide, too haunted. And there's a flush on my cheeks that has nothing to do with the chill outside. The door creaks open, and Daniel steps inside, bringing with him the sharp scent of pine and earth. He sets his backpack down with a heavy thud, his movements deliberate, almost mechanical. His eyes find mine immediately, searching, probing, and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff, one wrong step away from falling. There's a sheen of sweat on his brow despite the cold, and his cheeks are ruddy, kissed by the wind. But it's his gaze that pins me in place, intense, heavy with something I can't read. Is it anger, sadness, or God forbid, understanding? I can't tell, and that uncertainty twists my stomach into knots. He doesn't say a word at first, just stands there, shedding his jacket with slow, measured movements, the silence stretching out like a taut wire between us. It's agonizing, this quiet, thicker than the mountain fog, and I feel it pressing against my chest, making it hard to breathe. I force myself to move, to act normal, though my hands tremble as I grab a glass from the counter. "Do you want some water?" I ask, my voice thinner than I intend, a slight quiver betraying the storm inside me. I don't wait for an answer, just fill the glass under the tap, the sound of the water too loud in the stillness. "How was the hike? See anything interesting up there?" I'm babbling now, the words tumbling out in a desperate attempt to fill the void, to keep him from seeing through me. He takes the glass from my unsteady fingers, his touch brief, but enough to make me flinch. "It was fine," he says finally, his tone flat, almost distant. Long. Cold. Cleared my head some, but his eyes don't leave mine, and I feel like he's peeling back layers, looking for something I'm terrified he'll find. Outside, I hear the rhythmic thud of an axe splitting wood, each strike echoing like a heartbeat in the oppressive quiet of the cabin. It's Theo, out there by the shed, working as if nothing has changed, as if the world hasn't tilted on its axis since this morning. I steal a glance out the window, unable to stop myself, and see his figure bent over the chopping block, the axe rising and falling with a steady, almost hypnotic rhythm. I'm frozen there by the window, my breath fogging up the glass, my fingers pressed against the cold pane as if it could anchor me. The sound of Theo's work outside feels like a countdown, each strike ticking off the seconds until everything unravels. My mind is a storm of jagged thoughts, guilt, fear, and something I can't name, something that feels dangerously close to longing. I hear Daniel set the glass down on the counter behind me, the clink of it sharp in the stillness, and I know I can't avoid this any longer. I turn slowly, my heart pounding so hard I'm sure he can hear it, but before I can say anything, I catch movement outside again. Theo has stopped chopping. He's standing there, axe resting on his shoulder, looking toward the cabin with an expression I can't read from this distance. Then, to my horror, I see Daniel move past me, his boots heavy on the floor, heading for the door. I want to call out, to stop him, but my voice is trapped in my throat, a lump of panic choking me. The door swings open with a groan, and the cold air rushes in as Daniel steps out onto the porch. I'm still by the window, my body rigid, watching as the two men face each other across the gravel clearing. Theo doesn't flinch, doesn't look away, just stands there with that same unreadable calm he always carries. Daniel's posture is tense, his shoulders squared, and though I can't hear their words from here, I can see the way his head tilts, the way his hands clench briefly at his sides before relaxing. My stomach twists into a tighter knot with every passing second. What are they saying? Does Daniel know? Has Theo said something to betray what happened? My mind races with worst-case scenarios, each one more devastating than the last. I imagine accusations flying, voices rising, fists even, though that's not Daniel's way. But then, after what feels like an eternity, Theo gives a slow nod, a gesture so subtle I almost miss it, and turns away. He walks off toward the forest, his figure shrinking into the shadows of the pines until he's gone, swallowed by the wilderness. I'm still rooted to the spot, my breath shallow, when Daniel turns back toward the cabin. His face is a mask, no anger, no pain, just nothing I can decipher. He steps back inside, the door closing with a soft thud behind him, and the silence that follows is heavier than ever. I brace myself, my hands gripping the edge of the windowsill so hard my knuckles turn white. I'm waiting for the storm, shouting, questions, accusations I know I deserve. I'm ready to confess, to let it all spill out if that's what it takes to end this suffocating tension. But when he finally speaks, his words are not what I expect. They cut through the air with a clarity that stops my heart for a beat. "Thank you for reminding her who she is." I blink, my mind scrambling to process what I've just heard. There's no venom in his voice, no sharpness, just a quiet resignation, layered with something that sounds almost like gratitude. I turn to face him fully now, my mouth slightly open, but no words come. I'm stunned. A wave of shock rippling through me, making my legs feel unsteady. His eyes meet mine, And for the first time in what feels like years, they're softer, not guarded or distant, but open in a way that unnerves me. It's as if he's seeing me anew, peeling back the layers of routine and silence that have built up between us over time. I don't know what to say. Don't know how to bridge this sudden, unexpected chasm that's opened up. Does he know everything? Did Theo tell him, or has he sensed it all along? The disconnection, the longing, the moment I crossed a line I can't uncross? I stand there, grappling with a flood of emotions, confusion, relief, and a deep, aching sadness. I realize now that Daniel has always seen more than I gave him credit for. Maybe he's known about the cracks in us, the ones I thought I'd hidden so well. Maybe he's felt them too, and in his own way, he's been waiting for something to shatter the illusion we've clung to for so long. That night, after his words hang in the air like a fragile thread, we don't dive into the messy details. We don't tear into each other with accusations or confessions. Instead, we sit by the flickering light of the wood stove, the crackle of the fire, the only sound between us. There's a quiet understanding, a shift I can't quite name, but can feel in my bones. It's not forgiveness, not yet, but it's a willingness to face whatever truth lies ahead, no matter how raw or painful it might be. The remaining days at the cabin pass in a strange, muted rhythm. Daniel and I don't speak much about what happened, or what he might know. We don't need to. The air between us feels different now, heavier with unspoken thoughts, but also lighter, as if a weight we didn't acknowledge has been lifted. We go through the motions, boiling water for tea, stacking firewood, taking short walks along the frosted trails where the pine needles crunch underfoot. But there's a new awareness in every glance, every small gesture. When he hands me a mug, his fingers linger just a moment longer than before. When I catch him staring out at the mountains, lost in thought, I don't interrupt, but stand beside him, letting the silence speak for us. It's not reconciliation, not exactly, but it's a step towards something real, something we've avoided for far too long. Theo, meanwhile, keeps his distance in those final days. I see him occasionally, a figure in the periphery, hauling tools or clearing a path near the edge of the property, but he doesn't come near the cabin again. It's as if he's deliberately giving us space, stepping back now that the storm he stirred has passed. I don't know if I'll ever fully understand his role in all this, but I find myself feeling a strange gratitude toward him. Not for the betrayal itself, not for the line I crossed, but for the mirror he held up to my life. Without that moment, without the sharp, brutal clarity it forced upon me, I might have kept drifting through my marriage, numb to the emptiness I'd grown so used to. His presence, however brief, made me see myself, and Daniel, in a way I hadn't dared to before. When the last day arrives, packing up feels like closing a chapter I'm not sure I'm ready to end. We move through the cabin in silence, folding blankets, sweeping dust from the corners, placing the old Monopoly board back on its shelf. I run my fingers over the scarred wooden table, remembering the weight of my guilt as I sat there days ago, waiting for Daniel to return. Now, as I zip up my bag, I feel a mix of dread and relief. The wilderness has stripped us bare, exposed every flaw and fracture, but it's also given us a chance to see what's left beneath the rubble. Daniel lifts his backpack, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting second, and I see a question there, one neither of us is ready to answer just yet. We step outside, the cold air biting at my skin, and lock the cabin door behind us. The mountains loom in the distance, silent witnesses to everything we've unraveled here. The drive back to civilization is long and quiet, the hum of the car engine a stark contrast to the stillness we've grown accustomed to. I stare out the window as the pines give way to asphalt and billboards, the world slowly reasserting itself with every mile. When we finally stop for gas, I hear the buzz of my phone from the glove compartment, a reminder of the life waiting for us. I don't reach for it right away. The sound feels jarring, intrusive, like an unwelcome guest after the raw simplicity of the cabin. Daniel notices my hesitation, but doesn't comment, just fills the tank with a steady hand, his face unreadable. I wonder if he feels it too, this reluctance to return to the chaos of the world outside, where the noise and bustle threaten to drown out the quiet peace we've found here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.